On today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make a super easy old-fashioned apple crisp that is super buttery and cinnamony, and you're going to absolutely want to eat this entire pan. I served it with some of my homemade whipped cream, and I put a cherry on top to be extra as hell. So please, guys, add this video to your playlist and hit the thumbs up, and know that you can find all the ingredients you'll need for today's tutorial throughout the video. Tutorial, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell and select all notifications so you'll be notified of my uploads. And add this video to your playlist, share this video, and please hit that thumbs up and leave a comment down below because that will really help me out. So I'm going to begin in my bowl here with a half a cup of all-purpose flour. To the all-purpose flour, I'm going to add a half a cup of granulated sugar. So after adding the sugar, we're going to add half a cup of oatmeal. I'm using quick cooking oats. This will work with quick cooking and old fashioned. I'm going to add to this 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking soda. And if you don't have an 1/8 teaspoon, an 1/8 teaspoon is just simply half of a 1/4 teaspoon. So 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda. It's a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. I'm going to whisk all those dry ingredients together. After whisking the dry ingredients together, I'm going to add to this 1/4 cup of melted salted butter. If you don't want to use salted butter, you could use margarine. You could use coconut butter as well. If you don't use anything that's unsalted, simply add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And just use fine sea salt. So I'm adding molasses here, and I'm adding, this is about 3 tablespoons of molasses. And I just use molasses because I don't buy brown sugar, I make my own. So I'm mixing together all these ingredients. I'm going to use my fingers to kind of, so you want this to be very clumpy. You don't want it to be dry at all. You want it to be very clumpy, very wet. I'm going to set this aside after I thoroughly get everything coated with that melted butter. So you see how wet this is? When I go to grab it, it holds its shape. You want it to be, not sopping wet, but you want it to be pretty wet. I'm going to be working on high heat. So 3 tablespoons of melted butter. To the melted butter, once it's hot, I'm going to add my apples. So I use 6 medium apples. You can use whatever apple you choose. If you want to use Macintosh, if you want to use Granny Smith, because people have different preferences. So it's not that big a deal, seriously. But 6 medium apples, and I just peeled them, cored them, and just cut them into even-sized pieces. So once the melted butter is hot, I'm going to add the apples. So I'm going to let the apples cook in the butter for about 2 minutes on high. So these have been going for almost 2 minutes and they've just been sitting in the pan. I'll move them around just once. So what I'm going to do is add 1/3 of a cup of granulated sugar. If you want it to be sweeter, add a 1/2 cup. So I'm just going to give this one stir. And now I'm going to let this cook for about 5 minutes on high. We just want to begin to cook off this water. So it's been 5 minutes, and as you see, my juices from the apple that was once in the pan, it all began to evaporate. The apples began to swell and soften, and we have this thick, viscous liquid at the bottom of our pan. So what I'm going to do is pour over just 2.5 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm also going to pour over 2.5 teaspoons to up to a tablespoon, it's totally up to you, of ground cinnamon. I'm also going to add a couple tablespoons of water. I'm going to give everything one good stir. And everything is going to thicken up. Cinnamon has thickening power, or it's a thickening agent, so you necessarily don't have to add flour to this. Most people add flours to their apple crisp or apple crumbles or their fruit crumbles. But when cinnamon is involved, it will thicken. And as you see here, it's starting to thicken up, and that's just from the cinnamon. This smells beautiful. If you want to add vanilla to this, you could, but I didn't add vanilla because I just want to have the plain flavors from the apples and from the maple syrup. So I'm going to turn off my heat, and I'm going to spread my spiced apples across the bottom of my pan here. And then that crumble that we made earlier, we're going to crumble it on top. So our crumble is nice and wet. So I'm just going to kind of crumble it here. Just nice big crumble pieces. Once you have your apple crumble completed, we're going to put it in a preheated 350 degree Fahrenheit oven. It's going to bake in there for about 30 minutes. We just want to bake it until the crumble is nice, beautiful, and golden brown on top. It's been 35 minutes, and my apple crisp or apple crumble, whatever name you prefer, is finished. It's beautiful, golden, bubbly. So I'm going to let this cool for a few minutes before I serve this up. So I'm going to go ahead and serve up my apple crisp here. The top is nice and golden and crisp. Let me just place that on my plate here. I'm also going to place on some whipped cream. And if you need a recipe for stabilized whipped cream, please check the description box. Also the iCard that will take you to my baking channel with Sugary Sweet. I love homemade whipped cream. I'm going to add a lot. And because it's at the end of the summer, we like to have something that will remind us of the summertime. But as summertime is ending, I'll just place on a cherry. It doesn't get better than that. Look at my beautiful apple crisp. I just love it. The whipped cream is starting to melt on this warm apple deliciousness. I can smell the cinnamon and the maple. Let's go ahead and give this a taste. Wow. I cannot tell you guys how delicious this is. Those delicious flavors from the maple syrup and the cinnamon is all nice and warm. The flavors is just like absolute heaven. Of course, with the cream, it's so delicious. And I just love how toasted oatmeal tastes. Super buttery. It's like eating an apple pie without a crust. The apples are nice and tender. They're not crisp. It's just such a beautiful flavor. Guys, you can serve this for your holidays that are coming up. You know, we have Thanksgiving, Christmas coming, New Year's coming. You want to serve this for a Halloween party, for, you know, adult Halloween party. For people that don't like pumpkin, this is perfect. Please add this video to your playlist, hit that thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe, ring the bell. Please remember to live and be well. Let's come together and love each other. Thank you so much for watching and supporting.